Good morning. This is the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion Briefing for Friday, March 6th. Looking at precipitation over the past 7 days, fairly dry here on the left-hand side. The first blue shades, just a couple of hundredths to a tenth of an inch. Locally higher pockets in the higher terrain of northern Utah and western Wyoming, but it's on the right-hand side. You can see that many areas in this dark red were 10% of normal precipitation, maybe 50% or so in this yellow, but overall it's been a dry week. Left-hand side shows no snowfall in the past 72 hours. Right-hand side snow cover on the map has disappeared off the valley basin floors, is confined mainly to elevations of about 6,000 feet or higher. Quite deep here across western Wyoming and the mountains of central Idaho, Uintas and the Wasatch. Below normal snowpack here across the Sierra front. We'll have to watch that as we go into the burn season, but more especially into the early part of fire season. See 100-hour fuels quite dry for this time of year, in the single digits in these orange shades, low teens in the yellow shades, and even the heavier 1,000-hour fuels in the single digits. We normally don't see these values until we get into June, but here they are now in March, and even in the low teens across the southern half of the Great Basin, even parts of central Idaho, which is still about 2 months ahead of schedule. Satellite imagery shows a trough of low pressure with storminess off the Pacific coast. These enhanced clouds you see in the lee of the Sierra Cascades in western Nevada are actually mountain wave clouds forming off when strong winds and a stable atmosphere form off the lee side of the high terrain, so not really producing much in a precipitation. See, they're kind of stationary, but it's these enhanced clouds here just approaching the California coast, which will bring the next round of precipitation for parts of the Great Basin over the next few days. So the upper level map for today shows a trough of low pressure. You see that deep moisture that actually produces precipitation in the dark green here still staying to our west. Great overall dispersion, good southerly flow. Areas in the white have excellent dispersion. The further north and east you go, still some lingering inversions, those areas in the purple. On the left-hand side, transport winds picking up out of the south in those enhanced orange and purple shades, gusting to 30 to 40, but lesser amounts as you head further east. Vertical mixing looks really good. Yellow to orange shades, anywhere from 3 to 6,000 feet above ground level. Still some patchy inversions just in parts of the eastern Snake River Plain, but overall looking pretty good. And there's the next storm system pushing in Saturday with clouds and some precipitation for at least the northern portion of the Great Basin, at least northern central areas. Excellent overall dispersion on the right-hand side. Transport winds quite strong out of the south-southwest, and some of these purple shades gusting to 50 miles an hour, widespread 20 to 40 mile an hour transport winds. Great vertical mixing on the right-hand side. On Sunday, you can see that one storm moves out, moisture from the next system moves in, so being under the influence of low pressure means overall good dispersion on the right-hand side, areas in the white to yellow. Transport winds die out across the western Great Basin. They're strongest across parts of Utah into western Wyoming and eastern Idaho. Good vertical mixing still overall. We're getting to those longer days now that offer us good vertical mixing. The Utah Clearing Index, which is also like a dispersion index, also showing a general improvement. Areas in red offer excellent or the highest overall dispersion. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday looking really good. And then 3-day precipitation accumulation. Overall, light to locally moderate amounts, anywhere from a tenth of an inch to a quarter inch, and some isolated half-inch amounts in the dark blue. There'll be several inches of snow in the higher terrain. Most significant amounts across the Sierra front. On Monday, still some storminess, low pressure cut off the Pacific coast, pumping in tons of moisture more into southern areas this time. On the right-hand side, excellent overall dispersion, transport flow out of the south. So we go into Tuesday, that low approaches a little closer. So basically south of I-80 is where I expect to see clouds and steady precipitation, good overall dispersion again. Similar story on Wednesday, very slow moving low, and as long as you're under the vicinity of low pressure, dispersion tends to be pretty good. Same story on Thursday, the low kind of falls apart. You see that moisture being shifted eastwards into Colorado and the Great Plains. Weak high pressure ridging in across California into parts of the northern western Great Basin. Northerly flow this time. Still decent dispersion overall. No areas in purple, lots of areas in the white and yellow indicating Good overall transport winds and vertical mixing. The precipitation over days 4 and 5, this is Monday evening through Wednesday evening, confined to southern portions of the Great Basin. Some locally heavy amounts, so those dry fuels that we saw on our fuel charts will definitely change by the time we get into the middle of next week. So any large-scale burning, you probably want to get it done ahead of that time. The 8 to 14-day outlook shows a transition to cooler than normal temperatures here on the left-hand side, also wetter than normal conditions, areas in the green, especially the darker shade of green. This concludes our briefing. Next smoke update will be this coming Monday. Have a great weekend.